Thank you very much. In which case, on to item number 10, please, which is the Government Autumn Budget Implications. That is an item that's going to be led by Andy Gates. The paper provides a short summary of the implications of the Autumn Budget, which was handled by Rachel Reeves, as you'll know. Andy, do you want to talk us through that? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. So I won't take you through line by line the paper, but just to signal that the budget presented on the 30th of October was just a one-year bridging budget, really taking the government and us into a longer-term, multi-year spending review that the government expect to conclude in spring 2025, which is kind of the big prize in terms of understanding what the government's longer-term approach to funding activity is. But this one-year budget did provide really important clarity on a number of funds of particular importance to SYMCA in South Yorkshire, and I'll come on to those. It also confirmed that South Yorkshire, the Milk Mine Authority, will receive an integrated settlement from 26-27 onwards. You'll have heard this called a single pot, a single settlement, but that is a consolidation of national funds coming into the Mayo Combined Authority. The breadth and depth of that is still to be determined. The quantums of that is still to be determined, but it's something that many of you have argued long for. So it was really positive. The MCA was also confirmed as going to be in the future being part of the local government finance settlement, which reflects the importance of putting MCAs on a sustainable long-term financial footing. So that was captured in the budget. On transport, the big chunky things that board should be aware of, government confirmed £1 billion of investment to fund BSIPs, bus service improvement plans. Detail of that is to be determined, but South Yorkshire would expect to secure an allocation of those resources, which is positive. Government signalled that they are increasing the fare cap to £3, but also extending it to December 2025. CRSTS allocations, this is the City Region Sustainable Transport Settlement. Allocations were confirmed nationally for the next financial year, but nothing confirmed for 26-27 onwards yet. And the budget indicated that BSOG, which is the Bus Services Operator Grant, which is funds that currently go direct from the DFT to operators, bus operators, are expected to be wrapped up into the integrated settlement from 26-27 onwards. And just to remind board members that that was part of the level 4 devolution deal commitment that we secured in March 2024. Just on economic growth, there were concerns about Shared Prosperity Fund and its continuation. The government have confirmed another year of that, described as a transition. It's unclear yet a transition to what, but it also took a significant haircut of 38%. So I suspect things will come forward to this board for consideration about how that will work in the future. And we're also anxious about investment zone funds. So we'd secured, we knew we had funds in this year. No certainty until the budget for any investment zone funds into the future, but the budget confirmed that there will be a year 2 settlement, and the government also announced a number of new investment zones. So that may signal their sort of longer term intention around investment zones. Just on housing really quickly, the Affordable Homes Programme was given a £500 million boost, and the government signalled their intention to put £3.4 billion into a warm homes plan. Details in terms of how that's done to come through. On skills and employment, there wasn't a huge amount in there, but the big commitment where we think there's South Yorkshire relevance was the £240 million commitment to fund 16 economic inactivity focused pilots. And the paper hints that that may be the source of supporting the Pathways to Work programme. And then just last but not least, the government also committed to putting a historic wrong right by ensuring that those mine workers in receipt of a mine workers pension would have the 1.5 billion that had been sat transferred into that pension pretty much with immediate effect, and that's expected to increase mine workers pensions by 32% across the board. And that's it from me.
Brilliant. Thank you, Andy. I think it's worth saying no budget is perfect, right? There's always winners and losers in any budget, but I think there was some really significant good news for South Yorkshire, not least the single settlement, which is a big step forward for this region, this organisation. I think we come back to this theme a lot, don't we, about the deepening devolution in South Yorkshire. I think it's another step on that journey, and it's testament to how far we've come, that we're now in that place. Tram funding, confirmation, like Andy says, of the IZ in the near future. But there are also some broader wins, things like the minimum wage increase, which will impact on a number of people across South Yorkshire, investment in the NHS, which will obviously go a long way to helping people in South Yorkshire. So some broader themes as well as some others that are more targeted at South Yorkshire. I just wanted to reflect on a couple of things specifically there as well, which is just the £3 bus fare, which is worth remembering was not going to be confirmed by the previous government. They had not confirmed that they were going to bring forward the bus fare cap in any way. So a bus fare cap of any description is welcome news, albeit obviously we want fares to be as cheap as possible in South Yorkshire. But I think it's also important to remind people that that is not a maximum fare, or sorry, that is not a minimum fare for buses in South Yorkshire. Not every journey is £3. A lot of bus journeys in South Yorkshire will continue to be under £3, and I think it's important that people know that and remember that, because some of the messaging around this has been quite difficult. I think people might have got it in their heads that that means that every bus journey in South Yorkshire is now going to be £3, and it's not going to be. £3 is very much the maximum, and I think that's a really important point. So I would like it if people could try and take that away and remember that. And then last but not least, just to kind of again touch on the mine workers pension scheme, there are up to 18,000 people in South Yorkshire that are going to benefit from that uplift, and that is huge. And it's huge both in terms of the economics, it's huge in terms of what money that means for money in people's pockets, but it's also huge because it's an injustice that's sat there for far too long, and this government have finally gripped that and solved that problem. And there are other injustices that this government are going to have to get to grips with. I've mentioned before about Orgreave and what we need to do there, and I'm fully supportive of the campaigners who say that they want to see an inquiry into Orgreave. But what we do need to see is that those injustices are gripped, absolutely. And this is a very good start, very welcome, and particularly for those 18,000 people, but broadly for a place with the heritage and history that South Yorkshire has for this region in general. So really, really good news. Is there anybody else that wants to comment on the budget? Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair.
Say your name just so other people
right.
online know.
Caroline Makinson, Barnsley. Yeah, the budget, there's quite a few things that we're awaiting the detail of for the combined authority. I would like to suggest maybe we could have a special meeting to look at the budget and what it means to the combined authority maybe early in the new year, so we can see as leaders sit round the table and talk about the specifics of what we've been allocated. Thank you.
So we're intending to have an MCA meeting in January anyway, I believe. So we can add it to the agenda and make sure that we do have that on the agenda once we know a bit more about what those details mean. So that's a good idea. We'll definitely do that. Anybody else want to comment on the budget? Brilliant. Okay. Thank you, Andy. That was great. Can I just say then, we just need to note the key funding decisions set out in the Chancellor's 30th of October budget and consider the implications of those funding decisions as they relate to the MCA's ability to deliver on agreed objectives. Number 2, note the government's commitment for South Yorkshire to be one of 6 MCAs to have an integrated settlement deal in place from 2026-27 onwards. Happy?